All right. Hello. I'm so happy to be joined today by Brendan Bradley. Brendan, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I first met Brendan while I was kind of diving into like the AI weirdo side of Twitter. Naturally, VR and XR, other sort of like AR reality sort of stuff started popping up, and I was always very interested in that. I acted in the Nether in college. A lot of really goofy, horrible, exciting things going on. So that was really fun, and I was like, oh, I should get this side of like people pushing the theater boundaries represented in this festival. I wanted to get a wide range of makers, different types of people experimenting with the technology, just seeing what other people would do. So I reached out to Brendan asking if he would like to be a part of this festival, and Brendan sent me an email, hey, would you like to be a part of my festival? So that was really great. We got to put up a portion of the like original GPT-3 show I wrote in web accessible XR. So you could just go to a web address and watch the show, walk around as an avatar. Really cool, crazy, exciting experience. My show kind of felt like we were like the ugly duckling of the group a little bit because everybody
No
was doing all this
way.
crazy. Well, we brought a very different thing than what other people were bringing. All these very cool tech advancements, and then we had a bunch of people like piloting from old computers and whatnot. So that was very cool, exciting, and I think kind of fits the ethos of this accessibility of making all these cool things that are coming in that you can literally do from like your phone. Uh, yeah. So Brendan, what is
I'll
your
actually
familiar? Or yeah, no,
I'll
go.
actually jump into that though real fast just cuz I think the dichotomy of that was actually representative of the point of the entire festival because your piece simultaneously represented this incredible advancement that even I don't fully understand using the GPT-3 and using basically AI to help build narrative while also a cast that had no access to VR, had never been inside of VR, right? Like, so in some ways, we are really taking the most primitive access to technology with the most advanced access to technology and just mashing them together, just colliding them and seeing what happens. And I think that experiment really, to me, represented the entire culture of the work that I've been doing over the last year of really trying to navigate that very weird tightrope walk of here's all this really cool new shit we can do. Can I cuss on your thing? I imagine I
Absolutely.
probably
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but here's also, it doesn't matter if no one can watch it, do it, experience it with us. Like, I honestly don't think anything matters if it isn't accessible. And that can be a controversial opinion, particularly in new technology, because we have to build the sandbox before people can play in it. But I think that what the theater community and the storytelling community needs right now is a tourniquet. And so if they don't have the ability to actually create and do, it's why like TikTok has become like a sandbox for new musicals. Like, and you can hate on that all you want, but at the end of the day, like they made an accessible platform for creation. And I think what you're doing, I believe, from my very primitive understanding that we're going to like really throw against the wall and be like, wow, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Is I believe that there is that opportunity for accessibility to allow anybody to collaborate with artificial intelligence to some degree, which I think that pure connection of automated and manual human connection as collaboration, I think there's something very exciting and interesting and scalable about that for the entire creative economy.
Definitely, definitely. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've been doing during quarantine with future stages and stuff? Just because that's such a cool idea, and I think is sort of the forefront of that accessibility of VR and all that you were just talking about, essentially.
Sure. Is this a video or just an audio thing?
I think it'll be a video thing eventually. I'm gonna
Cool.
cut it down, edit it to size, etc.
Fair. Fair.
But pretty basic, sort of more as a thing that people would like leave on in the background and like if they flick over for whatever reason. Yeah.
That makes sense. So basically, I'm an actor first and foremost. I also write, direct, produce. I've used digital media for the last decade. I started in like black box weird theater in New York City, realized it was very difficult to get people's butts in the seats with the advent of like true online streaming whether that's 360, whether that's interactive content, whether that's just straight up YouTube videos, I was like, oh, we can go to the butts rather than make the butts come to us. That's awesome. And so I've spent the last decade doing that type of interactive content, new media, whatever the heck that means by the day. And when COVID hit, I have this lab at NYU that is the integrative technology lab that's all about just putting new technology that isn't ready in the hands of students so they can integrate that into their craft and into their training. Because the first time that you act with technology should not be when you're hired for the job. You should actually have some experience with it. And what I basically pivoted to during COVID was to try to find anything other than Zoom theater. Not that that's not its own cool art form. There's some great stuff being done with like tiling, but that isn't the only option. And so for me, exploring every other type of virtual storytelling mode and medium was really exciting for me. And what that led me really into was the potential of WebXR, among other things. And so I launched a free theater that you can basically download using Mozilla Hubs that you can then host a show even with no background in coding or modeling or anything like that. And we actually put on a show using this future stages technology. So you go to my website, brendanabradley.com/future stages, or use the hashtag future stages. It's like a website template. You just grab it and then you can host a show. So we put a play, one of my plays, in this space. So you can see these little avatars acting. So we acted as avatars in virtual reality, all inside a web browser. And then we actually took our live videos from our webcams and composited them together and acted as humans inside the VR world as well. And basically did those shows back to back to talk to the audience about like, do you like the robot people or do you like the people? Like, what do you respond to? What did you connect with? What works, what doesn't? From there, we wanted to know, does this scale? Does this work? And that's when you reached out to me, is we basically just reached out to everybody who was working in weird online storytelling, whatever the heck that meant, and said, do you want to basically create a dark ride where in the same web browser URL, we take the audience through a bunch of shows and a bunch of different types of storytelling. And the good news is, because it's a one-act festival, if they don't like something, they just hang out for 5 minutes and there'll be something new in a couple minutes. But it allowed people to really connect to a diverse, eclectic experience of what's even possible all within inside of a web browser. No download, no special equipment needed. So we had a dancer that used her web camera to perform inside the 3D world. She then wore these haptic bands on her limbs so that the audience could actually vote on what limb she used in the dance, which was awesome. Then we went to your piece, which was these actors using basically their laptops to be able to puppet avatars while saying the lines written by GPT-3, which we're going to get into more today. And then we went to the surface of, this was all underwater. We went to the surface of the water and we watched.
The lobby was a boat that sank, to be clear.
I should have been clear on that point. So yes, we hosted everybody above a cruise ship that we then sank. We did some theater under the water and some dance. Then we went to the surface of the water. We watched the boat play that I had done. And then we washed ashore of an island. And it was kind of an interactive scavenger hunt meets theater where you were greeted by two kind of survivors on this island, and you got to choose which one you went off with and had some adventures with. And then a Kraken attacked everybody and rallied together to save our heroes, and ended up back on the boat again. So that was our like evening of short performances, all inside of a web browser. I have some. That's the journey of it that we went on. People went into the lobby of a theater, came out on a boat, which was super cool. We had these little avatars with life preservers so we could keep track of our audience the whole time. We sank the ship using a 360 HDRI.
It was a very fun time. Very wild, very fun to try and recruit people and explain what was going on.
I imagine.
It was a wild, fun time. So with all that, do you have like a plan going into playing with this, or are you kind of, do you have some things you want to try that you're specifically going for?
I am completely at your mercy. I'm really enjoying the fact that like I spend probably 40 hours a week talking other people through technology and onboarding them into processes. And so I'm really enjoying just getting to be a guest in your sandbox. So
And to
I'm
be
totally down
clear,
for,
I'm not like totally 100% on like all of the different like aspects of how it works and whatnot. I just know what I've been messing with to model and how what other people have gotten and this sort of thing. So it's still very much at that entry level. Like I'm not the guys doing AI dungeon with D&D that are like deep in the code and like all that, but it's a fun time.
yeah, I'm very down. I think that something we did talk about was whether we could feed it, because I am a playwright and a writer, and I have a lot of scripts, which I imagine we're not going to feed it like a library or anthology of things. But like the question is, could it basically try to simulate my speech, or is it just trying to simulate human speech?
So I think we should definitely try with that, and it'll certainly pick up on patterns and things of yours much faster, or it'll like slot you in aspects of your personality almost like on the internet communities in a weird way. It's sort of like a like mirror in because it's just literally this huge bundle of internet data that's it's sort of spitting back out at you. Cool. Here we go. I got screen shared now. Nice. And Zoom didn't even freak out this time. It like almost all, oh, just kidding. I spoke too soon.
Just kidding. Yeah, Zoom hates everything.
Okay. So this is your little playground.
All right.
The main things you're going to mess with, if my computer will stop freaking out. Sorry, give me a second here.
No worries. I know this journey well.
There we go. Okay. So the main thing you're going to be messing with response length, how many tokens you want it to spit back at you. Okay. So how much you want to generate, the longer it goes, the more off it could go from a thing. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that for now. Temperature, closer to 1 is a least logical or a less logical generation. So it'll like pick a like lower probability of what will come next, and that will repeat obviously the longer you go. So it can really get itself off track by always picking the least probable next thing coming. If you turn it down towards 0, it'll start repeating itself a lot, sticking to stuff that's already there in the text or has happened in the text, sometimes just straight up repeating itself. Yeah, it has it set at 0.07 as a default. I turn frequency and presence all the way up just to like stop it from repeating itself as much. Those are the main things. There are some presets that they have that are like a chatbot, a Q&A, getting something into grammatically standard English, second grader, text to command, etc. So yeah, what do you want to give this thing?
So what did you gave it the prompt for the play we did at Onboard XR. You gave it that Patrick and SpongeBob are smoking weed.
And discussing philosophy and how it affects their lives in the undersea city of Bikini Bottom. And then I gave it a SpongeBob colon or a Patrick colon.
Gotcha. So then it went and it pulled episodes of SpongeBob, or
it gave me that exact script that they read and did in the thing with all the weird, like they scream, go to jail, robot monologue, everything.
And did it pop out all of that as a block, or did you go one by one, like basically kept clicking a response length of like 64? And
I think I had response length around in the hundreds. This was like, I have the whole play is just basically an anthology of those, of like ones that I liked or like things like that. So I was just kind of playing with like different response lengths. And if I got a like funny, like start to a scene, I'd keep going until it reached a conclusion or something like that.
So we're just going to keep hitting response, and that's going to be until we kind of feel like it's filled up an arc.
Or you could just get a response to one prompt and take that as like a little piece to use later. You can like piecemeal it together. You can get inspired from something it says and start writing with it. I've had some like improv people come in and they're just like writing two-person scenes and be like, oh, well, now he has a gun. Let's see how that changes what this does. Things like that. So you can sort of like direct, edit, curate all at once, like trying to think of what it's going to tap into, what it's whatever. I had somebody feed it its their artist statement and have it read it back to them in second grader language. That was fun.
Excellent. Excellent. I think that what this and so many other things for me prompts the existential dread of the kind of necessity of the artist. And especially in a world in which we've just come out of everyone kind of suddenly kind of disrupting their lives and being forced with the question of like, how much did any of it really matter? Like going to work or doing our careers or doing our what we thought we wanted to do with our lives and ourselves. And then looking at basically like content for content's sake, which is like now everything in the world, like everybody in the world has a podcast and a TikTok channel and a Twitter feed. Like it's immense. And so in the introduction of something that could be self-generated, I'm very curious about the idea of kind of a dinner with Andre. If two Brendans met in the metaverse and trying to determine which one of them had the better story. And so I'm very curious if putting in, without feeding it anything, I guess just starting within the notion of, I'm certainly not famous enough to have it really recognize me, but there's a lot of different Brendan Bradleys that do very weird things on the internet. There's a hockey player, there's an economist. So I think that like some weird stuff might bounce back. There's a very famous soccer player. So it could be interesting to just say, you know, Brendan Bradley meets himself in the metaverse and has to decide whether either life is worth living. Is that too bleak?
Oh, that's fine. You just want to give it that to start off?
Yeah, I don't
See
know.
what
Like
it does?
let's just see what that does. The Man Who Lost Himself, or The Disadvantages of a Religious Education by James Miller, 2009. And why is it number 3?
It sort of pegged you in like a list sort of content sort of thing, like
Okay.
headline, like explainer sort of, like maybe you're like you gave the description of like a book or movie.
From 2009.
Perhaps.
Which is excellent. James's dad is a religious scholar who has lost touch with reality after years of researching his speciality, the Book of Revelation. He tells James that he must become God in order to, and is now the participatory part where am I completing the sentence, or does it normally end with a more complete
thought? Have it we could submit, have it spit out more from that if we want. We want to do that.
Keep going.
Yeah.
To save the world. The First Thing We Look At by Stephen Graham, 2012. A man who has never been able to forget anything receives his first memory blackout and must solve it before he forgets everything else. Okay.
I wonder if these are real books or not.
That's what I'm wondering as well. So let's see here. The First Thing We Look At, Stephen Graham. That's a Stephen Graham. There's not a Stefan Graham.
Is it the first thing we look at though?
English actor. I don't see the first thing we look at.
That makes sense. They're just making up books on a BuzzFeed list or something.
First, yeah, thing we look at. Yeah, this does not exist. Okay, fantastic. I think what's interesting is we have a 3 and a 4. We do not have a 1 and a 2.
Presumably, whatever Brendan Bradley meets himself in the metaverse and has to decide whether either life is worth living is number 2. It just doesn't have a title.
Or there's the 2 Brendans in the metaverse are number 1 and number 2.
There we go.
And then number 3 is James Miller, and number 4 is Stefan Graham, which I enjoy a lot.
And you don't have to necessarily stick in this. We can get a whole new generation. We can save these for later, and you can come back to them and put in Stefan Graham as a character, or like whatever your process you want to do here.
I definitely think we're going to save James Miller and Stefan Graham as characters, and they are on the 2009 and 2012 timelines.
Okay,
that's fantastic.
You want me to copy paste that over and do something else?
Yeah, let's copy paste that over to our shared Google document. So now, okay, so what happens if we go 1 period Brendan Bradley, 2 period Brendan Bradley, 3 period James Miller, and 4 period Stefan Graham? If that's our logic of our characters in the metaverse.
Stefan. Do you want to do like characters in all caps at the top to perhaps like set it more in that, or do you want to keep it in the numbered list sort of thing?
I'm just trying to respond to what it gave us, which was a numbered list.
So you're trying to speak its language.
Yes. Yes.
You can alter it around.
A good collaborator.
Yeah. You can do more direct. I understand not wanting to do it, but you can do more direct, like characters, like a list of characters followed by a short description, and that might be more likely to set it in a direction that you want. But because I feel like this might just generate more lists of male names.
Let's see.
Yeah. Do you want to mess with response length or temperature at all, or?
Maybe bring the temperature is how crazy it gets, right?
Yeah.
So 0.1 is going to be like
It'll probably give you a lot of Brendan Bradley.
Okay, it'll just copy it. Okay, maybe go back towards like 0.5. Let's see what it'll probably give us. James Graham. Yes. Excellent.
You want to try that again, see if we'll get something different?
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Let's go back to 0.7. I guess it needs a lot more variation.
You've got a pretty specific pattern going here too.
It's the robot's pattern.
Ian
Cleary and Connor Phillips. Those are fantastic names. Excellent. All right. So we have 6 characters now.
You could start writing descriptions for them and have it finish it. You could give it descriptions and see what it does with those characters.
How would I see what it does with the characters? Is it just gonna?
Could be like you sort of like write a like setting almost and like just let it go. Give it like a little Connor blank, or like Connor Phillips is a 38-year-old man. He hasn't left his house in 3 years. Connor.
So it's a classic breakdown.
You could just like Connor and see what it does with that. You could,
when you did it for SpongeBob, did it format it? So for example, was it telling you Patrick's line was Patrick's line versus SpongeBob's line was SpongeBob's line?
Yeah. So I gave it that, and there's a guy that's working on a GPT-3, I believe, VR dream simulator. So it like asks you what you want to dream about. It like totally generates a world for you to walk around where people are talking about this topic or like bullshit like that. And he's been messing around with it for a long time. And he said the way to most often get it in dialogue is characters, full caps, and then colon or dialogue under that. So it'll recognize that because it knows all of fan fiction. It knows all of whatever. It'll copy whatever formatting you give it. So like if you start typing in like very young internet speak or anything like that, it'll catch on to that.
I see. Okay. Am I the most cerebral that you've had on this show do this?
In some ways.
Follow its rules.
Yeah. I think you're the most familiar, like adjacent to it beyond the guy who like is working with it every day. So it's like a feverish excitement, which I think is fun.
I think, well, for me, it's like I want to collaborate on its terms, which I think maybe is actually not helpful in this process.
Well, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's a really interesting artifact to make, you know, like you're going to put it up in VR in 2 hours or something. Like, you know, you tried to speak its language and this is what came out.
So, I'm just going off of in our Google chat. Yeah. I've just decided to start making things based off of let's see, Connor. Oh, Connor doesn't have a description. He's just on his own. So I'll make Connor our...
It's not the author of any books yet.
Not yet. It's about to be. So James Miller. I don't... yeah.
Well, do you want to
that I've noticed
give it that?
Like what I'm trying to do is write a line for every character.
Okay, yeah.
So that then, and I suppose doing this visually is less interesting than talking about.
Well, and then this is I'll be cutting around and things like that. So take your time.
Gotcha.
We don't need.
So James Miller, does it deal with parentheses?
Yeah, it'll parentheses, punctuation, capitalization. It knows it all.
From 2000, gosh, when would I? Let's say 5, or actually let's say 1.
And honestly, if you set that up for all of them, it will probably, any random new characters it brings in, I would imagine it would follow that pattern, or it would be likely to follow that pattern in some way, shape, or form.
All right.
And the trading data for this cut off in like October of 2019. So you might get some speculative stuff about 2021.
Oh, that's excellent.
I had a group come in and try and do something where they were like really reckoning with coronavirus and whatnot. And because the training data was before then, it was a weird push-pull to get what they wanted.
A man who has never been able to forget anything receives his first memory blackout and must solve it before he forgets everything else. All right, so what I've done is I've just literally taken the prompts based off of, and I actually don't like I'm opening with the Catholic thing because I was responding to the James Miller thing, but I don't think I don't know if I want to do this. Connor Phillips.
I think you also have Ian Cleary if you want to.
Oh, that's true. Ian Cleary's in here as well. Ian, is it clear with a Y?
Yes.
Let's see. When should Ian Cleary be from? We have a full spread here.
Great name.
Okay. So what I've done is I've just tried to respond to the random nonsense it first spit out. I've given myself from 2001, I don't know if I want to do this. Connor Phillips from 2019, which one? Me from right now, this timeline is better. James Miller from 2009, I lost my father before it got better. Stephen Graham from 2012, I'm losing my memory. And Ian Cleary from 1983, which is the year I was born, I've lost everything. So we can give it that and see
Very nice.
what it decides to do with that. Hopefully those are characters that are now talking to themselves.
Would you like
The
to,
response,
yeah, boot that up
yeah,
a little
let's
bit, see where it goes?
crank that length up, yeah. Let's see what happens.
Temperature 0.7.
Yeah, right? Or should we go crazy with it? Because
We can do multiple generations if we don't get one that we necessarily like. You want to keep it at default to start, or?
I think let's crank to 0.9 just because 0.5 was still so basically repetitive of what it was that
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like
Well, 0.9 with
0.7 is
550, we'll probably get some nonsense, so it'll be fun. Let's see where it goes.
excellent.
Oh, press submit on a space.
Oh, we have new people now.
Ooh, and it stopped it because we thought it was generating sensitive content, but these are good. Keep going.
Okay. David Heyman from 2006. My wife and my daughter, I never got to see her grow up. Megan Garlick from 2003. They took it from us for nothing just because we were poor. Some days I wish they'd murdered me as well. Oh, excellent. All right. So
it would
we're
have spat out
establishing
more, but it gave you a sensitive content warning, but it just flagged
Okay,
it that it might be sensitive. It doesn't want to necessarily spit out like 800 characters of hate speech at you without,
okay, so is there a way to let it show us what it was going to spit out, or we just keep
We just got to keep going.
Okay.
But I can just
All right,
hit submit and
yeah, let's keep going. I love that it is never the same character twice. And it keeps getting sensitive content. All right, so we have Millicent Malone from 2009. When we started our family, things were different. Edward Winterburn from 1984. The night the border was opened, I remember looking out my window and seeing crowds of people running along the road. We didn't think it would get this bad so quickly. Okay. So we now have, what's that, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, all from different timelines, all different. Everyone's only had one line of dialogue, which I'm rather enjoying. What I'm starting to know, I'm trying to see if there's any. I like that David Heyman is from 2026. So we've jumped ahead. So because it keeps cutting us off with the possible sensitive speech, I think we've got to keep going because I don't think we have a 550 response yet, do we?
No. We're at like 256 with everything already in there.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we just blindly hit submit 3 times if it keeps giving us the.
Yeah. A little off the rails here.
Okay.
Game of Thrones showing up.
Wow. So it's really writing like an essay now.
Well, now at one point it just got into, it likes to do this thing where it just says a bunch of like creepy big words, just like records erased, wiped, cleanly buried, husks hollow, haunting, scattered remnants.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit more on Winterburn. And then it starts.
Winterburn kept talking now. It's hard to believe where it went from hearing all those promises. It was just like trying to hold water in your hands. Jack Kelly from 1956. We grew up without family and friends doing things on their own terms. 10 minutes before the final credits, a piece of text appears on the screen. An official website for The Last Days on Mars was launched with 16 videos detailing interviews with the cast and the crew. A trailer was released shortly after festival acceptance of the film in November 2012. Okay, so hold on. I need to know if that's a real thing. The Last Days on Mars. It is.
2012?
Okay. 2013, so yes.
Okay, yeah.
2012. So that's just information.
Do we want
So
to...
I think we delete that. That doesn't help us.
Got you. We'll submit a few more times.
But I was going to keep going. But
oh. What do you want?
I was gonna delete that part, but keep gleaning
Oh,
what
my
else
bad.
might be.
Here, I can undo, perhaps? Too far. What's redo?
Nah, no worries.
No, what are the we little, should say that. Oh, God. I may have just fucked us.
No worries. Should we just...
I can go back in the VOD and after this, if you want stuff from that. That's super easy to do. Oh, yeah, because you want to get it. Yeah.
I liked where it was heading, but honestly, like, we can just regenerate from what we've got and start over as if that was the first time.
My deepest apologies.
No worries. Let's see, we did that at 550 and we did that at temperature at 0.9.
All I know is that the Irish language has to die.
Okay. So now it spit out basically more dialogue from new people. So we have Michelle McCarthy from 2019. I was trying to get away from it all. Carissa Moran from 2017. But I've always been able to get home. Jenny Ritchie from 2048. There is no home anymore. Ian Cleary again, but now from 2016. I have lost so much. Mark Boswell from 2135. All I know is the Irish language has to die. Stephen Graham from 2038. We're in trouble. Now, Ian Cleary from 2018. We're all in trouble, all of us, all of those still alive. We're in terrible, terrible trouble. Sheridan, in an interview with Tom O'Connor, said he had read enough about contemporary history in Ireland to realize the trajectory that the country was on economically and socially would lead to a big crisis. In the rough guide. Okay, so now we're like just giving more information. I'm waiting for it to like actually make something up now. Oh, wait. The issue of state viability occurs when Sinead O'Connor in the 2038 timeline demands a referendum on Northern Ireland, having returned to Ireland after she had resided for a decade in the Irish-administered North, working as a doctor. Colin Murphy, the voice of reason, argues that the government would be unwilling to hold a referendum in line with public opinion because it would obviously result in a vote for independence. And in the event of a small majority, the government would be ideologically incoherent in arguing against the outcome. Okay. The open discussion of time spans is a feature of many stage plays, but Sheridan's Une Jeunesse de Temps differs in its format in that it consists of a collage of character and plot points from different time streams. Okay, is that real? In stage plays such as Edna Walsh's Disco Pigs or John B. Kieran's Scenes from the Best Picture, characters from one. Okay, so we need to know
Disco Pigs is a real play, I believe.
Okay. Disco Pigs is a movie for sure.
I think it's a French play or something like that.
Okay, yep, by Edna Walsh. Okay, so let's figure out... let's see. trying to look up this Sheridan's. Could be the temps. Ungenis du temps. The issue of state viability. I'm just trying to decipher from it what is original and what is just spitting out information from the internet.
Yeah. Weird Northern Ireland fanfic.
Exactly. No, because that's where we're headed. So I like this idea that in 2038, there's a referendum on Northern Ireland.
Having returned to Ireland after there's the Irish administered North.
Yes, I like the Irish administered North, so we're keeping that for sure. So all these characters are in the Irish administered North. And I guess they're part of the...
Well, she came from there to demand a referendum on Northern Ireland, which seems to be different than the Irish administered North.
Yes. Yes. And they're looking for a vote of independence. So I think that we can delete everything from after we're in terrible, terrible trouble. And then, so delete that, because that's just quoting somebody else. And then I think keep the issue of state viability occurs when, and let's remove Sinead O'Connor and put in one of our characters. So Ian Query, I think, has spoken the most. So we'll give it to Ian.
He's had a hard life.
Yes. And in multiple timelines. I appreciate. So he's in the 2038 timeline right now. Demands a referendum. Great. And Colin Murphy, is that one of our characters, or is that just introducing somebody new?
I believe that's a new character.
Okay, so let's find somebody. I think let's try Michelle McCarthy, because it's the first. Excellent. And now I think we get rid of the open discussion of time spans, because that's just giving us information about somebody's existing play. So do we need to give it dialogue for it to continue to spit out dialogue, or?
It would increase the chances of getting more dialogue for sure.
Great.
You might just continue on one of those tangents if you.
Right. So then what we might do is we have Ian McQuarrie saying we're all in trouble, all of us, all of those still alive, we're in terrible, terrible trouble. So maybe he continues and says, it's time for the referendum. On the Irish administered North. It's been a decade too long. And now we can have Michelle McCarthy chime in. And, oh, sorry, we need Ian McQuarrie from 2038. Oh, yep. Because this is now the conceit of what we're doing.
Ian and Michelle both from 2038?
I don't know. What do we think? Where was Michelle from previously?
I believe 2019, which is 1 year after Ian's 2018.
That sounds good.
From 2019 again?
Or from 2019. Yeah, that's nice. From 2019. I mean, I guess the obvious question would be, what is the Irish administered North?
Did she ask that?
I think so. I think.
Do we want to do like is?
I see. Would capitalizing it
All
help it?
sort of style changes it'll recognize them. It won't necessarily. It's just a style choice, I guess.
All right, so let's capitalize is and let's capitalize administered.
You want to like put it in quotes, like she's like.
Yeah.
And do we want to prompt someone or just see where that goes?
Yeah, let's prompt. Who else? Who said that Mark Boswell said, "All I know is the Irish language has to die." So let's give Mark Boswell again from 2135.
See what he says. Turn it down a little. Still 0.9.
Sure. It seemed to have gotten us decent results. Oh, wow. Excellent. All right, so we've introduced a new character, Ni Dechanu, who I believe is probably some sort of Gaelic name. Otherwise, it's some sort of like Danish or something. It's great.
Not a ton of vowels.
Yep. All right, so we have to go back. A lot has happened. Excellent. So Mark responds, Ireland is still a multinational state. The English-speaking minority, as well as the Ulster Scots, are not content. Mark Boswell from 2135 then goes on to say, Ireland lacks the natural resources to be viable and compete in a globalized economy. Michelle McCarthy from 2019, or even a viable unitary state for the convention of the 21st century. Ian Cleary is adamant that a referendum should be held to prevent war breaking out and the air of uncertainty festering as to whether or not the United Kingdom will recognize the Irish Republic, of which the North is a part. Okay, so now we've just defaulted back to history.
Yeah.
Ian Cleary from 2038, the Brits must never be allowed the right in law to recognize the Irish Republic, never, never. And Northern Ireland would follow. It would become united with the Free State. It's been the cause of 3 world wars. The Free State is a multinational state. It would bring peace to the island if there were a referendum, because everyone knows that with a measurable majority, the North would vote for unification. The Free State has a 50-50 population split. Okay. So it's kind of now default. It gave us something very interesting, and now it's trying to default back to history. It's doing what a real writer would do. It's trying to make sense of its own nonsense. Excellent. I would say let's get rid of the stage direction part. Ian Cleary is adamant a referendum should be held. I think we get rid of the Brits must never be allowed the right, and same with me saying and Northern Ireland would follow. I like it would become united with the Free State. It's been the cause of 3 world wars.
Do we want to?
I think we skip.
Cut that from what is Irish administered North. Connor comes in, or?
I don't mind the Ireland lacks the natural resources.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe take off the first is still a multinational state, English-speaking minority. Yeah, so I would just get rid of Nee's second line and Ian's line after that. I don't know. It's kind of Chekhov's gun. You've put the cause of 3 world wars on the table from 2915. So I believe someone from 2021 needs to ask, when was the third?
Well, it seems like you're the one asking. Should we put you asking?
Sure, let's put me from 2021.
When was the third? What was the third?
Say who was the third.
Let's see what that does.
Let's see what happens. Okay, there's some gems in here. I think the first two lines are still trying to like clarify itself. So we take away Ireland had two civil wars and the majority of the people in the Republic. I really like. I would take away, I can't believe the treaty's still law. It's a joke in this day and age. I love the line, if you go against the clear wishes of the people, and the response, the clear wishes of the people from this timeline. That is fantastic. We wouldn't even be having this. We decide. So I think take out Stephen Graham's line. We've decided to try to help because it's not just about this timeline. I think delete all of them, and I think me from 2021 should ask, but which timeline is real? Is real question mark, and then which one is worth saving? I don't know. Let's see what that prompts. Completion may be unsafe. It looked like there was a little down arrow. Would it be possible to?
It just gives you more, and then you can report it to them, and it's supposed to like help. You're almost helping train out some bias stuff, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we get rid of Connor's first line. I love we don't know. We've introduced a new character, Paul McHugh from 2027. So I think Paul comes in. So I think get rid of he disappeared in this timeline. She went home by her own time. Still don't feel like I'm in the right timeline. She was from the wrong one. You are in the right timeline. I'm sure of it. I think then Nee has to respond. So I think let's prompt Nee to respond. So delete Jenny's line and prompt Nee to respond to that. From a production point of view, this is terrible because there's way too many characters.
Yeah.
And we've established nothing. It's fantastic.
Do a fun little like swap VR for every character, one-man show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Didn't say anything.
I like that a lot. Us will make it better. Okay. All right. So what we have is a lot of Brendan type writing where it's a long sentence that says nothing. So I think we might get through that. So let's see. We will make it better. I like that the end of Mark's line, we have to accept that our future has been cut short.
We just want
And then
that.
I like the yeah, I think just keep that. And then your future, Mark Boswell, you have no future. I like Michelle's outburst of what? Then Mark, and if there really is only one future for all these settings, then there are no alternatives. I think we get rid of for all these settings. I think it's just, and if there really is only one future, then there are no alternatives. Sarah's brand new from 2739. Time travel has changed everything. Children have no desire to learn. They can just travel around to a better timeline and learn it all instead. That's self-contradictory. I like the nonchalantness of time travel has changed everything. Full stop. I think that's great. Because then Ian goes on to say, and our access to almost any information, at any time has removed our understanding of history. I think we take away in the value of it. It sounds preachy. I like has removed our understanding of history. And then I think Connor Phillips will get rid of, I'm not sure how much longer I'm in the right historical moment. I don't know that that line is as interesting, because what I really like that's about to happen is Carissa and Paula say the same line.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want them to say it at the same time. So I think, how would we do that in a play? We'd separate them into different columns, right?
Yeah, or just write simultaneously. Or...
Yeah, we just write simultaneously above Carissa.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's give it some.
Do you want to do it in parentheses, asterisk? Do you just want to write simultaneously?
Probably parentheses. Okay. And I start saying 2 years from 2021, and then there's an ellipses. I think we keep that, and let's see if we get rid of Ian's line, I want to see if it
generates more from there.
Continues more from that, or whether it just trails off and lets somebody else come in.
Yeah.
And can we make the temperature 0.8?
Yeah. 2 years.
Okay. It's becoming a very lazy writer.
It's picking up on its shorter, lazier stuff, and then it takes that as what you're feeding it and wants to do more of it.
It's really resting on its laurels here. I think going back to the top, we'll talk through what it has added here. 2 years.
We could also just go back and try and get you to go off if you want to push it that way.
No, I like the idea of, okay, getting rid of knees line. So they both say, I've got 2 years to break 1,000 years. No, sorry, can you Apple Z? Or is that going to mess everything up?
There we are.
Right. This seems like a very important line to the OpenAI. So I want to make sure I honor that. And to save the future, if we can save the future, I sometimes wonder if it's worth trying to save it. But we have to fight for it. We have to try. We have to try. And now it just kind of starts repeating itself.
Yeah.
So I would get rid of the future's worth saving. It's worth trying to save it. Doesn't mean we're going to succeed. Let's have Knee's line. Michelle, you keep saying you think you're in the right timeline. I do. You have to know. No. And then Knee should say something more. Because it seems like Knee was about to say something more. And then it stopped generating things.
Well, it did give it gave another like blank like it did earlier and started generating for Melissa.
Okay.
But we can give him more if we want more.
Sure. Ooh. Okay. So, oh, still going. Excellent. Okay. It's really writing itself in circles. Okay. So I think I'm going to get rid of most of this.
Yeah. That's what happens. We've got a lot of stuff we're feeding it now in it.
Right. No, then say the date and place when you're certain there's no need, there is a need, then get rid of everything else. So should we take all of this over to our Google document?
Sure.
And start fresh, or is it good to have all this data?
Up to you. If you wanted to take all of this into account every time we're adding a little bit more, if you want to just do a little end snippet of it and edit from there, give it a little bit more freedom to go different places.
I think we should definitely bring everything over into
definitely
the Google document. And let's, I think from there, because I am interested now in the sense of like, the editor in me would like comb through this and like make some sort of more manageable thing. But what we clearly have to recap where we're at.
Sorry if I just pasted that like 4 times. My Google Docs is moving slowly.
We're in the Irish administered North. Actually, nothing is showing up in the Google document for me.
Even better. Page unresponsive. That would explain it.
Perfect. So we're in the Irish administered North. We have about 30 characters from different timelines. And they are arguing about whether or not the future is worth saving.
Uh-huh.
There is nothing more AI than that. Did it not copy?
No, my page there is this. I tried to open it another page and it didn't go to the right. It went to just a random. Google Docs really having a field day taking this text in.
Yeah.
Why are all my pages going unresponsive? What is going on? This is truly bizarre. Yeah.
There we go.
That has never happened during this before.
But that's much later, isn't it? Oh, no. So okay, so that's what I wrote. Oh, wow.
Oh, there. Now they're all coming.
Now it's coming through.
Okay, it's better formatted below. I don't know why that first block is so bad.
Yeah. Should I just quickly try to... Okay. So I think we're going to get rid of my first 2 lines. Apple Shift X. Great. This timeline is better. I was just trying to get away from it all, but I've always been able to get home. There is no home anymore. I've lost so much. All I know is the Irish language has to die is a great line. Will Eno would be very proud. We're in trouble. We're all in trouble. All of us, all of those still alive, we're in terrible, terrible trouble. I feel like we never really redeemed this Irish administered North. But I'll keep it because that's our place.
Yeah, you get into it a little for the cause of 3 world wars.
Right.
But
okay, so on the eve, or sorry, in the aftermath of the Third World War, a group of time travelers meet in the Irish administered North. For a referendum on
independence and the fate of the future.
Yeah, basically a referendum on the fate of the future and whether it is theirs to change or to alter. Why don't we give it that?
I do. It is too. You got like 50 minutes left. Just throwing that out.
Thank you. So do that, and then let's start with Ian Cleary because he seems to be driving us from 2038.
There are a few of him to choose from. 0.8 and 320.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Director of Department of Time Policy from 2042. We've come for a vote. Ian McQuarrie from 2038. Okay, let's get back to the top of that. That got exciting. Come for a vote. We've been sent to tell you that all the time travelers no longer believe in you, the old man, the God in our time, the God that made our time the way it is, the God that must be overthrown, the God that time travelers will never bow down to, the God we will never worship. Director of Department, the God we will never bow down to. Ian McQuarrie goes on to say what? Next. We left the old world to come to you. We left a world of pollution, overpopulation, urban decay. We left a world of strife, famine, and disease, the birth of a new nation, the era for all time, our world, our future, our time, our time, our time. Okay. I don't hate it. So I think the first line, it always makes me concerned how quickly this thing wants to skew towards religious conversation. And I feel like that's just such a very, like, God is dead is such kind of a tired philosophical thing. And it immediately puts the audience in a space that they have to make a decision about the text that I don't like. So I would take that out. I like that we've been
The
sent
old
to tell you that
man,
the time
or
travelers no longer believe in you. That's excellent. And then
you should let him keep going.
I would just let him keep going from there. We left the old world to come to you. We left a world of pollution, overpopulation. That's all great. That's fine. The birth of a new nation, I might get rid of. A new era for all time, our world, our future, our time. And then I like that he repeats it twice. Our time, our time. So I would just give him that on the same line.
Give him what?
So the director of Department of Time Policy.
Oh, yeah, I don't need.
Literally says it's
Yeah.
as if it's a double. I would just treat it as double speak because that's nice. I'm trying to think of, do people now start guiding the narrative?
If you want, it feels like you're kind of searching for an ending or something a little. You can definitely poke it that way. I definitely had somebody just be like, well, let's Chekhov's gun, put a gun and like on the wall, and one of the characters like glances at it. What happens? You can do that. You can, again, you're driving. I'm just here to help point you the ways you want to go.
I believe the open AI is driving.
Also that.
We're all just in the passenger seat. I like this director of Department of Time Policy. It's very interesting.
It seems like there's a little like combative thing here. It could be like a fun, big, bad character.
I think
because the our world, our future, our time almost feels like, no, it's ours, not your group of time travelers that are doing all this.
I would say Ian grabs the director of Department of Time Policy.
Department of Time Policy.
He transforms into a mound of sand. Slowly, what does sand do? Does it flow? Does it dust? Does it dissolve? Slowly spreading. Slowly spreading across the floor, transforming the Irish administered North into an open desert. This is me trying to connect every dot it's given us.
North into a desert?
Yes.
See what it does with that?
Yeah, let's just see what happens.
Into a desert. Oh, back into
history.
As soon as you mention Ireland or any sort of okay, we're just getting Niles gone again. Pause.
Wow. Okay, so it just gave us some history. So I would get rid of I would literally get rid of our manifesto. The sand washes into a drain. Actually, let's keep the sand washes into a drain as carry off to the sea. That's a visual thing that we could do.
Take out our manifesto?
Yeah, take out our manifesto. Then from the earliest days of the Troubles, we're getting rid of that. A drunk stumbling on the wrong side of the road has fallen down in a puddle. I like this weird, like, Memento-esque, like, flashes of memories that are happening. Like, so Niall Breslin was talking to someone about 10 minutes ago. Now he's gone. The barman finished his shift and left. The background, a drunk stumbling on the wrong side of the road has fallen face down in a puddle. Niall's in the bathroom now, the toilet flushed. He's in the bar now, wiping the tables. He's gone again. It's textually satisfying, but I don't know that it gives us much of anything. So can we just take all of this and paste it into our Google document?
Of course.
Great.
Niall's gone again. Pause. Did we get that in there?
Yeah. Should we just roll the dice and see?
Sure.
It's all a dream. Oh, what a cop-out.
Try again.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of like pulling a slot in some respect,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking for a certain thing.
Fall from the stage and are carried away. Excellent. In the aftermath of the Third World War, a group of
Just repeating
that's
itself.
our prompt.
Yeah. Carried away. Let's go from carried away.
I liked that first stage direction. Yeah.
Try again.
Paste that for now, because we could just have all of our characters end saying the word time.
Sure.
I've seen plenty of plays like that.
Yeah, sand washes away after Ian Cleary grabs the Time Lord.
Yeah.
Everybody chorus comes back.
Time. But yeah, I think after carried away, we should pull the slot one more time and see if we get some sort of nice ending.
For sure.
Verse of some kind. Okay. Don't come back. I'll make it clear which side I'm on. All right. We'll take that.
It's sort of like a Outlander last, like.
Uh-huh. Well, and the Goonies.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll paste that at the end of our thing.
Okay.
And so is your goal then to present these in a festival, right?
So my goal is to have some version of this brought to life or in some way that's digitally shareable as part of the festival.
Excellent.
How do I get it to paste not shitty? Because I got it on the other one. Paste without formatting. Yeah, much better.
So I think what I just want to do is with the time we have remaining.
Yes.
Kind of set the scene for what I would be trying to do. Because if this is all kind of precursor to setting up what the festival will be, I would go on to Mozilla Hubs, just the vanilla. So this is free to use. And they just give it. So this is the room template that they start with. But if I go into all the templates and change the scene, I'm going to type Ireland. Oh, nothing comes up. Okay. But island. It's all very tropical. Oh, I have Stonehenge, but that's not Ireland.
Basically.
Basically. I think what else would be similar to but Isles. Nope. Trying to think of like a port or a sea or something. Just want to start with an environment. Any thoughts on what we might?
Yeah, port sea seems like the right direction. Honestly, just like a big green space, anything with like grass that's like open.
Right. Let me start with a desert. Here we go. Desert Valley.
Well, it does transform into the desert.
Exactly. So we're going to start with this desert. This is where we're going to end the show. And then what I'll do is I'll put a model from Sketchfab. Let's see if we can find Ireland. Oh, ancient Irish tomb, Cork Corner Shop, an Irish pub. It's a good location for this. I'm just trying to see if there's any chance that we have. There's a cutout of some earth, Christ Church. Here we go. Let's see what this looks like.
Some good Irish earth.
Some good earth. Oh, it's a big file. It's taking a hot minute to load.
Yeah, it must be very nice earth.
All right, so now let's stretch it out super big. Here we go.
Look at those textures.
So we could start. If I pin it, then it won't turn blue. So we could start in here, talking about all our time stuff. But we could also. There was a Irish pub that came up. Let's just see what an Irish pub looks like. Nope. Just flipping it around. Here we go. Make this super big so we can fit inside of it.
Put the earth inside it. Nice little Irish tavern.
So we'll pin that. So I think what I would do is have our little time travelers in the pub discussing all these things. Right.
Honestly, the like rock formation there, like it's a portal. It's a time travel device.
Right. And I guess they're here to call the referendum. They go through the scene together. I could put myself in these different chairs and have a conversation. Obviously, someone needs to be the bartender. So one of them is slocking drinks the whole time. And then eventually it will dissolve into the desert.
Very fun.
Need some sort of very odd character. I'm thinking with a briefcase of some kind. A briefcase that is a clock for our Department of Time Policy.
On Sketchfab somewhere.
Exactly. Let's see. Clock briefcase. Okay. What about steampunk? Briefcase. Okay, steampunk bag. Sort of satchel. Nope. Steampunk in general. What do you got?
Gotta be some
cool
sort of
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here's this book. Here we go. So the Time Lord has this book. I can't say the Time Lord. That's proprietary. We're not allowed to use that.
The director of the Department of Time.
I could see this being a Oh, we need a flag as well. Need an Irish flag. No results. No results.
Really?
All right, so we'll have to work on that.
Maybe just type in Irish or something. It might, like, I'm
Flag
surprised at that.
pole. The Super Mario flagpole. Excellent.
The Irish administered North has adopted the Super Mario World poll.
Here's our book. So yeah, so that's not nothing.
Oh yeah.
So we have this book, and then at some point, let's see, particles. At some point, they're going to need to turn into, here's a particle test. It's not moving though. That doesn't help anybody. Delete. Particles, Sketchfab. But I imagine I'd find some sort of particle effect for them to turn into the desert.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'd lower the flag. You know, we'd lower the flag at the end of the show.
You could even like drop it from the sky, let the physics do it.
Yes. And then the characters, some character would carry it off, probably just dragging it into the distance. And then
drag them under the sand.
And then we'd fade to black and just be left alone on a bare stage with our with Ian, who I suppose has become our
Christ figure.
Our Christ figure. Stage. Not that I don't have one of these. Oh, this is excellent. It's like a paper stage.
Very cool.
For like stick figures.
That rules.
So how many pieces are in the festival?
17, I think.
Nice.
Nice. So probably do like one every day with its behind the scenes sort of making of thing for like 2 weeks and change.
Cool.
And yeah, it should be fun. I'm very excited to see finished products from all these people. Very jealous of rich producers that they just get to do it all the time.
When are they due?
The open timeline, I know life is insane and whatnot. I'd love to get it done and out sometime this summer. But again, I've had people very much, it's side project, do at your leisure. I will update you when I'm done editing all the things and be like, hey, where are you at? It'd be great if I could, in the next month and a half, get some finished version of it. Because very much in the spirit of, let's see what people throw together on a small time side project deal.
Right.
Boss man.
But yeah, I would just start kit bashing a bunch of, oh, I like this guy doesn't have a face. That's excellent.
But yeah, no, if you're, suppose we don't need to throw too much together here extensively. Mozilla Hubs, super easy to use, very fun. You can literally just go in and spawn stuff like that. That's just like more fun than a Zoom hangout with your friends if that's how you're doing it. Just like having them explore it, I think is fun. Yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about this process, your stuff, or you should definitely plug your movie that you made, which is insane.
Oh yeah. I can throw that on. I mean, I guess it doesn't need to be basically I took an Xbox and put it on set with my actors, and so while the actors were performing on camera, I was also getting their motion capture data, and then I put it onto 3D models in Unity, so that we could cut between the in-video game scenes of the show and then the live action scenes. So it is Macbeth told through the lens of a video game company that overnight suddenly randomly disappears and goes under. It may or may not have something to do with another video game franchise that rose to fame very quickly and then completely disappeared. And so I wanted to basically explore the kind of fire fest of video game culture through the story of Macbeth. So that's what this is. And it's a super fun ride, and we've been working on it for 3 years now because I basically had to render out each and every little animation clip
Oh my God.
in the film on a laptop. It takes time.
Just rendering probably took a year.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Can you tell why I'm excited about doing browser-based VR? Is that it's just, it is what it is, and you're done with it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that'll come out probably over the summer. Basically looking at a variety of weird distribution models. It's a super, super independent film. Made it for practically no money, on just a lot of love and a lot of favors. My first movie I ever made was kind of a disaster from the perspective of it did very well and it made a bunch of money. I just was never the recipient of that money because of how independent film in America works. And so part of what I'm trying to do with this one is just really make something very weird and different and gritty that is almost not commercially viable. It's just it's meant to be consumed by the people that will find it very experimental and interesting, and then try to figure out what is available to us in terms of self-distribution right now. So I'm looking at some weird things to do for that. So, you know, you can follow me at Brendan A. Bradley at all the places, and hopefully it'll be something worth checking out over the summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for doing this. Do you have any parting thoughts on having just collaborated with an AI or?
Sure. I think that an AI is a lot like working with a real writer in the sense of kind of gets stuck in its own loop and is definitely gets really obsessed with one particular detail and can't let go of it. Incredible research, the amount of Northern Ireland research it was bringing to the collaboration I thought was interesting. Yeah, I don't think that I think what is interesting is that whatever it is pulling from, I can feel the limitations of it still.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that there's a lot of kind of repetitive themes of, like, we did give it the metaverse, but the idea of always going to God or always going to time or always going to like, it gave us climate change, it gave us existence, it's interesting to me, like, having seen your piece and spent a lot of time with your piece, and then reading this and then kind of reading other auto-generated scripts or whatever. It's just very interesting what it latches onto, which is clearly by query. Like, it's all data supported. So it's clearly what people write a lot about or search a lot about or talk a lot about. But I would be very fascinated by the idea of if you could ingest, you know, obviously if you could ingest a bunch of Shakespeare, it would write Shakespeare, you know, so pulling from a writer that has an extensive library, I think that has nothing to do with sci-fi or odd kind of like time narratives. It'd be very interesting to see what it came up with, because I think it's cool that it can just kind of like keep populating something.
Definitely, yeah. And I think as like specialization and apps use this to build their own writing apps to work out kinks and stuff like that is going to be a very exciting tool to people moving forward. And then with examples of other stuff like that, I can send you some stuff of like them getting Hemingway to write the first chapter of Harry Potter, or like Edgar Allan Poe doing like Little Women, like so you can definitely train it to, or not train it, but like guide it some ways, which is fun. But yeah, thank you again so much for doing this and putting in the time. I appreciate it so much, and best of luck with your movie and everything else. Brendan is a wonderful resource for all this stuff on Twitter and everything. Sorry, I got over you there, but thank you again, man.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon with whatever this turns into.
Amazing. Have a great time doing it, and it can very much no worries on time and stuff. Have a good one, Brendan.
All right, you too. Thanks,
Bye.
Isaac. Bye.